Welcome to this AdminChat webinar on cyber protection. It's by me, Dr. Monica Seeley, who is the founder of Mesmo Consultancy. First, for those of you who don't know me, just a little bit about me. I am passionate about helping people like you and your bosses use email more effectively to improve performance and save time. Why do I say improve performance and save time? Because email misuse is the biggest drain on our productivity and our well-being. I'm author of Brilliant Email and the Executive Secretary Guide to Taking Control of Your Inbox. Whenever there's been an email disaster, you'll often hear me on the BBC. I write for and am often quoted in the national press, from the Financial Times to the Times and the Guardian. I have a guest post on Huffington Post blog. And I still do some research into things like gender differences in email, and believe me, there are a lot, and indeed the future of email through either City University, where I'm a guest lecturer, or the University of Bournemouth. And why Bournemouth, you might ask? Well, that's because I live in Dorset these days. Our clients, Mesmo Consultancy's clients, over the years range from small, national, locally focused charities to public sector to international clients, large, small, all sectors. We've coached and trained thousands and thousands of executives like yourselves to save time and to reduce the risk of leaking confidential information through email. Cybercrime I take to mean not just hacking, but it includes, as I've indicated, the leaking of sensitive, confidential information, the breach of the Data Protection Act. Whatever country you live in, there will be some form of Data Protection Act. For us in the UK, it is the GDPR, which is also Europe-wide. And why do I say it's expensive? Well, because it costs roughly $500 billion a year. That's the estimate worldwide, is lost in productivity, recovering from cybercrime these days, and lost in terms of information being leaked. A ransom attack will cost you about £111 to unlock your computer. 1 in every 131 emails has some form of malware in it, so it's expensive both financially and in terms of your well-being, the stress that you incur. It has been said that having your computer hacked or losing your password is more stressful than actually losing the car keys. So what can we do about it? Well, I'm going to break this short webinar down into 3 different sections. There's what we can do and where the weaknesses are as senders. Then there's where the weaknesses are as recipients, how we fall prey to prying eyes. And then there's just generally what we can do overall when we're not just accessing our email really, but obviously I've set this and focused this on email. I'm also aware that we have a very mixed audience, and some of you will be PAs and EAs in large global companies with a lot of the very best technology around, from firewalls to software which checks what's in an email, and others of you will be VAs working perhaps on your own with perhaps not quite so much technology. But you know, at the end of the day, no matter how much and how sophisticated your technology is, where is the weakest link? It's you and I and our bosses. And let me show you how under these three categories. Sending emails is the very easiest way to leak confidential email to prying eyes, whether those prying eyes are indeed cyber criminals or whether they are people that shouldn't see that information, or that email contains information about them and you've breached the Data Protection Act. How? Well, there are a number of ways. First of all, most of us are very time poor, 24/7 by 365 days a year for some of us, means that we do things in a hurry. We've all been there. You think you've written to Robin Sparrow, when in fact you've written to Roger Sparrow. Two different people, the same surname, but the email, whatever software you're using, has picked up an address automatically. So that's the first way in which you have leaked information. So the first piece of advice, stop briefly, nanosecond, and check that you've sent it to the right recipient. A question I'm often asked, 2CC or BCC? Well, once we've decided to use the to box and we've checked the email, then the question becomes, is it CCC or BCC? It's very simple. If you are sending an email to a group of people, no matter how small or large, if they are not all in the same company, the email address is part of their personal data. And if you don't have permission to share it, again, you could find yourself falling foul of the Data Protection Act. So put all the names in the BCC box. I've seen some wonderful examples over the years where a company has sent a price list to its distributors and its retail outlets, put them all in the CC box, and had a riot on its hands because distributor A has suddenly rung up and said, wait a minute, I didn't know company B was also selling your products. I thought we had some sort of exclusive arrangement. You see it when somebody sends a list of names out. I saw it recently with an estate agent, shared my name with about 2,000 other people. I didn't sue, I could have sued. So where you're sending something to multiple people, put their names in the BCC box. It also means actually that nobody can do reply all, so it has an added benefit. What about the content? Now, those of you who have heard me speak before will know I'm passionate about how you can use good email etiquette to ensure that you save a bit of time. But you can also use the 5S rules of email etiquette to reduce the risk of a cyber attack and of leaking information, because it's all about minimizing the room for error and how much information you disclose. So in a nutshell, structure it. That will make you think for a minute. Keep it succinct. Give as little information away and as little unnecessary information away as possible. Keep the formatting simple. People can't then tamper with it. And spell check it. Now, a lot of companies have software which will check emails as they go in and out, but particularly out, to make sure that people are not disclosing information or using words that they shouldn't be using. So, for example, I've seen PAs who've sent me things where they say the boss has suggested that the board make sure that their ducks are all lined up in a row, and it's gone out as their dicks. So you can imagine the email never actually went out. I have another company who are into sinking rather large bolt holes to secure pieces of architecture, and they went out as brothels. So again, that sort of thing gets tracked and gets seen as that company sending profane emails and perhaps their email addresses being blacklisted briefly. So there's a link there to a video we put together on the 5 S's. And the 5th one, which I haven't mentioned, is keep it to a single topic, because that email may get forwarded, and we'll come back to forwarding in a minute. And if you've put, again, too much information, 2 different topics, you then find that actually you're leaking information that way. As like as not, your email may have an attachment. And that's another way of easily leaking information, confidential information. You may have worked on a document, a spreadsheet, a presentation, lots of changes, and you think you've taken out all the track changes, but sadly they often turn up along with a lot of other metadata, that is to say hidden data. So the first thing is send attachments as PDFs whenever possible. So again, you're in a hurry, somebody says, oh, can I have a copy of your presentation? Wait, send it as a PDF, slides only, no notes, because you may have something in there that nobody else should see. There are some classic examples where many years ago Google disclosed some financial data it shouldn't have disclosed. Secondly, in terms of attachments, if it's confidential, send password in some way, protect it with a password or encrypt it, and obviously it goes almost without saying, send the password separately, but take any measures you can to protect your attachment. And some of you will have encryption in the company, others of you within your software, especially those of you on Microsoft Office, will be able to secure it a little bit better by sending it as a PDF. And the last thing is, you've sent me, you know me, you've sent me a document, it's confidential, but you don't know what I've done with it. I may, in a moment of haste, sent it on to somebody else, and so it goes on. And again, all of a sudden, from nowhere, you find yourself the subject of an inquiry into data which has been leaked. So take some measures to restrict circulation. Now, within, again, some software has built-in functions which you can switch it on and restrict circulation. If you haven't got that sort of software, then at least put a note in the email, for your eyes only. Please do not circulate without discussing with me beforehand. But the onus is on you to protect the content of your email, because that's the bit you have control over. You have no control after the email has left your desk. What about the emails you receive? Well, the cyber criminals are getting very, very clever these days. Some of you may have had the sort of emails I've had in the last few months, whereby somebody says, we know you've been to see a dodgy site. We've got your password and it's this. And if you just care to send us a little bit of money, we won't go any further. Now, haven't been to any dodgy sites. 2 things are going on. One thing is really going on. In cases where there have been large hacks of email addresses, LinkedIn is the classic one. What is now happening is these cyber criminals are holding onto the email addresses that they have gathered and garnered during those attacks, waiting till the furor has died, and then using your email address. So hence, you think this is really very real because it's your old password. So be alert to everything that you see. You need to know what you're looking at and why you're opening it. And again, we live in this very fast-moving society, so it's very easy to open an email that you didn't mean to and think, oops, okay, I better go and click on that website. And before you know it, you've been subject to what is very kindly called a phishing attack, and they've used the email to essentially find personal data from you. Alternatively, you have opened an attachment which contains some kind of malware which will corrupt your PC, laptop, whatever, for a while. At worst, it could give you a denial of service attack. What it does will depend on the size of organisation you work for to some extent, and whether you've got those devices or not. But let me say again, cyber criminals are acting faster than the very best protection, and protection is in a sense rather reactive than proactive. Nobody can predict, it's a bit like the weather, nobody can predict what's out there sometimes till it's happened, or it's very, it's happened to somebody else. And it's therefore you can be the point at which you alert other people to the possibility of a cyber attack. You may get an unusual email from me. The classic comes that says, here's a voucher, thank you very much, from Amazon for helping me do something. And again, you go and you click on it, and of course the Amazon site is not genuine. Or you get an email from the chief executive that says, important, please read this. And again, you open it and you've released the malware. And this happens almost before your IT department knows it's happened. So whenever you see something that you're not sure about, pick up the phone, ask the sender. That's the first line of defense, really. And I talked as well about forwarding. I mentioned it earlier. Clean up your email before you forward it. By that I mean check to the very, very end of the chain. It could be a very long chain, a very diverse chain, and you are busy. But if you don't, you're going to end up, I get lots of examples. You're going to end up like an email in the situation somebody sent me a little while ago. He said, look at this. Somebody has basically said something quite unpleasant about me many months ago. And by the time the email's been forwarded time and time again, it ends back up on my desk. You may be forwarding, you may be in customer service, and you're forwarding an email perhaps to a third party. Again, if you don't clean it up, have a look at what's there, you end up disclosing information that you really shouldn't have disclosed. And you're the one that's in trouble, and then the company's in trouble. So I cannot stress enough with emails that you're going to forward, clean them up. Those are things you can do as easy things you can do as senders and recipients. And then there's the sort of the bigger picture. You're accessing your emails, perhaps you're working away from home, as many of us in the office, as many of us do remotely. You're on a train, you're in an airport, you're in some kind of public space. Sadly, you need to be on your guard the whole time. Try not to access emails off a public unsecured network, because again, it's very easy for people who want to put some kind of software on there that will watch as you log on, watch your keystrokes. Make sure that you don't leave it goes without saying, but I've seen it happen, your computer unattended. You go to get a coffee, you leave your laptop, you say to somebody nearby, can you keep an eye on it? And before you know it, bingo, it's been hacked or you've leaked information. Make sure that passwords that you use are strong and that you vary them. Again, there's a link there to a blog about how to create a strong password. If you're In a big organisation, you're probably prompted every month, every couple of months to change it. And the art of a strong password is to have a mix of upper and lowercase, alphabetic, numeric and characters. And the easy way is to compose a sentence and then pick some words from that sentence and reverse perhaps a few words and make numbers out of them. Avoid using the same password for all sorts of different websites. If needs be, use one of the password applications. There are lots of them around. You just need to Google them and use something like that where you just need one password and that will take you to all of your other passwords. Anyone who's heard me talk will know that I love out of office messages. I love to see what people put in them. I'm such a sad soul. Because the out of office message is the simplest way to let the cyber criminal in either to your house while you're away or disclose information to the competition. So the key is to keep it simple and stupid. Or keep it simple, stupid. That is to say, a very bland message. I will not be accessing my emails constantly from A to B. If it's urgent, please contact C. That way you have given away to the cyber criminal minimal information. Again, for more information, there's a shortened link there to a blog that we've written on the subject. So I hope you found this useful. It's some tips and hints there on how to protect yourself against cybercrime, how to reduce the risk of leaking confidential information, how to improve security, manage security. And as a special autumn offer, this forms a part of a much bigger workshop on saving time and using email to improve well-being and performance, and we're offering a special autumn offer of a workshop for up to 20 people for £495. That's less than it will cost you to get out of a ransom attack if you're on your own. It's less than a good bottle of burgundy, white burgundy, if you are into that sort of thing. All you need to do is contact us and quote AdminChat, and you can contact us in all of the usual ways. We have obviously a website, www.mesmo.co.uk, so you can phone us. You'll find us on all of the usual social media platforms, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. The two books, my two recent books, Brilliant Email and Taking Control of Your Inbox, contain a lot more information. We produce a monthly newsletter and we often put features in there on cybercrime so that you can sign up for that as well. If you've got any queries about this, anything I've spoken of in this webinar, please contact me, info@mesmo.co.uk. Otherwise, it just remains for me to say thank you very much for listening to this webinar. I hope you found it useful.